Okay, so this demo builds upon the first one. We'll be using the same Sports League Manager app, but not only are we going to build and deploy our app, but we are also going to create and execute automated build verification tests as part of our build process. Our scenario is that we have a developer in our team that has checked in and deployed some bad code, which caused a regression. The testing team reported that the current build is unstable. Before testing the new build, let's quickly explore Microsoft Test Manager. Microsoft Test Manager for a tester is like Visual Studio for a developer. They use it for accomplishing their day-to-day testing activities. In my case, I have a test plan for regression. This includes the test cases that should be executed throughout the duration of the project. Before going ahead and executing some test cases, let me show you how Microsoft Test Manager was configured for both manual and automated testing. For manual testing, it's pretty straightforward. I'm using my local machine for performing manual testing. But for my automated testing, I've created a virtual test lab where the build will be deployed and the automated test cases will be executed. I'll click Manage from here, and I'm taken to the lab center. From here, I can create and configure my testing environments. For example, here I have a simple environment called Integration and System Testing. This environment includes a single pre-created virtual machine called test.caro.eg, and it's hosted in my network on Hyper-V. Let me show you how we can create an environment for a provider-hosted app from some pre-created machines. So I'm gonna click New, give it a name. Let's say provider hosted app testing environment. I'm gonna choose the machines. Let's say we have some virtual machines on my network. SP test, and let's say the role is SharePoint server, and I have another machine on my network called web test, and it's web server. So here's my new environment. It constitutes two virtual machines, or physical. You can add physical machines here as well. Click next. Here I can specify my test controller, and basically a test controller is the component that orchestrates build deployment and test execution. I can also configure the environment to run UI tests. I'm gonna cancel this out because I already have an environment here which is ready. In my case, I'll be deploying a SharePoint hosted app, so one machine is enough for me. Now I'll click back, and I'm taken again to the testing center. I have here the test settings. When I click open, test settings is basically answering a simple question. What is the diagnostic data that you would like to collect during the testing sessions? In my case, I want to have a video recording. I want to record the system information as well as the event logs. Click finish. Only one step is left before wearing the tester's hat and start executing the test cases. This step is assigning a build to our current test plan. This step is very important because as we move forward with testing, we might find bugs, and those bugs should be logged against a specific build for traceability reasons. Another important reason is that the build you specify here contains some components that get pushed to the testing environment, such as test automation DLLs. I'm gonna click modify, and here the build assigned is 0.2. I'm gonna assign the latest build from here. Now let's move forward with our test cases. Here we have a test suite called regression and another subsuite called BVT, or build verification tests. This contains all the test cases that should be executed after each build to ensure the build's stability and quality. At this point, my build verification test is manual, but I'll show you later how we can automate it. Let's open the test case. It's called make sure that when a new league is added, it shows in the leagues list. And here are my test steps. The first one is navigate to the portal using a new browser instance. This is like my script. Then go to Sports League Manager app, click New League, type the league name, click Add League button, click Home, click View Leagues, and here we have an expected result, which is make sure that the league was successfully created. Then close the browser. Note that we have a parameter here, the league name. It's not hard-coded, and the parameter values are here at the bottom. This means that this test case will be executed and this parameter will be passed as the league name. You can also add another iteration. Let's say Egyptian League. This means that our test case will be executed twice. I'll save this, and to actually run the test case I need to switch to the test tab, right click and run. This will open this new tool, Microsoft Test Runner. I'll choose to create an action recording, and this option will record all the steps performed during the testing session, which is very important for test playback and for test automation. I'm going to start the test. First step is navigate to the portal using a new browser instance. This passed. Go to the Sports League Manager. This passes. Click Create New League. This passes. Type the league name. Just click Ctrl V, and as you might have noticed, we have this little yellow cylinder, which means that this parameter is now bound to this UI element or to this text box. Now, create Add League, then go to Home, click View Leagues, and we have an expected result that the league should be here in the combo box, but as you can see it's not here, and this is the regression that I was talking about. So I'll fail this step and say league is not there. You can also take a screenshot then proceed with my test case, and the step is close the browser. Okay, I'm gonna end the iteration and move to the next one. Start the test. This time I'll choose from step 1 to step 7 and click play. The test will be replayed to me without any intervention from my side, and this is the second iteration, the Egyptian League, and here my input is required. Make sure that the league was successfully created. No, it's not here. So I'll fail this one as well. Not here as well. And I'm gonna end the iteration. And save and close the test case. Okay, so is what we have just done considered to be full automation? No. Yes, we've recorded the actions and we've replayed the test cases, but we still need some manual intervention to make sure that the league has been actually added to the list, right? This means that our build verification test is still a manual one. So let's assume now that the tester logged this as a bug and that the developer is now aware of the issue. Let's now wear the developer's hat and try to reproduce the issue on the developer environment. Dev, go to Sports League Manager, create a new league, add league, go home, view leagues. It's not here. I've successfully reproduced the issue. Let's fix it. To fix it, I'm gonna go to Visual Studio, And I think I know where the issue is. I'll go to app.js and go to, I have a function called save new table. And it seems that someone commented this code or this line by mistake. I'll uncomment this line, save, and I need to deploy it now to my local development environment to make sure that it works. I can click here and click deploy, but I want to show you another cool trick. You can just choose your file, go to tools and click fast deploy to SharePoint app, and that's actually a community third party and it's not a native Visual Studio tool. If I go back to my developer site, go to Sports League Manager, click add, and view leagues, you can see that the league has been added to the combo box. So now I've successfully fixed the issue. And while I'm wearing the developer hat, let's now automate the manual test case. I've created here an empty test project. So what I'm gonna do is I'll create a new coded UI test. Add coded UI test. And I have two options here. I can manually record my test cases, my tests step by step, or I can simply import an existing action recording from a manual testing session. Since I've already executed the manual test case and I have an existing action recording, I'll use the second option. Click OK. I know that this test case has the ID of 21. Fine, here's my test case. Click OK. Now the code is being generated. And the process has converted my test case into code, which means that I can further enhance it by adding some validation logic. As you can see, each step here was converted into code, but there are two things that I would like to highlight here. The first one is the data source attribute, and this attribute is actually referencing my original test case. This means that if I want to add additional iterations, I can simply go to Microsoft Test Manager and add more. And here's the URL of my TFS, here's my team project collection, and here's my test case, here's the data access method. The second thing that I would like to highlight here is this line. Test context.data row of league name.toString. And this is the way how the parameter values are passed to the test method. Now let's add some validation logic. And I have good news for you. This can be auto-generated as well. I need to add here a method for validation. So I'm gonna choose generate code for coded UI test, and I'm gonna use the coded UI test builder, and this opens a new tool called coded UI test builder. Let's go to view leagues, and I need to validate here this combo box. So I'm gonna use this crosshair tool to select the UI element that I would like to validate. It shows all the properties, and I want to validate this property inner text. Click add assertion, and I want to make sure that the new league is contained here. So I'll use the contains comparator. I can simply add here a static value, but remember our test case had 2 iterations and the values are passed automatically. I'll just add here some dummy text, let's say dummy value, and I'll show you later how we can fix this. Click OK and generate code. Give the method a name, assert league for example, add and generate. Now it's generating the code. I'm gonna close the coded UI test builder. Now I have a method called assert league. Let's see the definition. And this is basically retrieving the HTML combo box. Then it's making sure that the inner text of the combo box contains this value, and this value is dummy value. If I go to the definition, here's the dummy value. I'll click back and I'll fix this. I'll use the test context, copy this and paste it here in the assert league. Of course, this will give me an error because assert league is not expecting any values. I'll go to the definition and fix the signature. Let's say league name, and now I'll remove this and add league name. So now the comparison will be between the inner text and the league name. Close this out, save all, rebuild our project. Of course, I can test my test. I click run test from here, but just for saving time, I'm gonna skip this. So now let's associate our test code with the test case. So I'll go to Team Explorer, work items. I'm gonna run a new query and say I want any work item with the ID of 21. I'll run the query and here's my test case. You can open the test case from Microsoft Test Manager or from Visual Studio, and here in the associated automation I can choose my test automation DLL. I'm gonna save this, and now we have a fully automated build verification test case that can be executed without any manual intervention. Let's now create a new build definition for building, deploying, and testing our app. There are two challenges for having this process fully automated. The first one is that we have to manually trust the app. There is no way through PowerShell or .NET CSOM to automatically trust the apps. The second challenge is that before executing tests, whether manually or automatically, we have to manually assign the latest build to our test plan. Why? Because the test automation DLLs are pushed from the build output folder to the testing environment before test execution. I'm going to automate both steps now. Show in the Source Control Explorer, let me show you something interesting. I'll go to the deploy scripts, SharePoint app, and here I've added a little bit of code to automatically trust the app through PowerShell. And I'm using here the Internet Explorer Automation PowerShell module. So basically I'm navigating to the URL of the Trust App page. Then I'm getting the button by ID and clicking it. And if any error happens, I'm gonna throw an error and I'll quit IE. The second manual step will be automated using an exe utility that will use TFS API to fetch the latest build and assign it to the current test plan. This should happen after deployment and just before the test cases get executed. For now, let's create our build deploy test build definition, and let's go to builds, create a new build definition. Let's give it a name, BDT, build deploy and test. And go to trigger, make it continuous integration. Source settings, I'll just reset this to the default, and I'm gonna use the local build controller. And this build is not gonna output any files. Why? because remember we already had a build deploy build definition in our first demo, and for saving time I'm gonna reference this one in the one I'm creating now. So I'll choose this option, and from the process I'm gonna use another build process template, and I have this one, lab default template.11.xaml. Choose the ellipsis button, and here's the wizard that can help you create an end-to-end workflow for building, deploying, and testing apps. For the environment, I'm gonna choose my environment, my testing environment. I had already created one. Click next. I need to choose my build definition, and since we already created a build deploy build definition in our first demo, I'm gonna use this here, BD, and I'm gonna queue a new build. You can choose an existing build, but in my case I want everything to be automated, so I'll queue a new build. Let's go to deploy, and again the build definition we created in the first demo was based on a customized build process template that is already taking care of deployment. This means that I can completely skip this step, but I'm gonna use it for another purpose, and this purpose is to automatically assign the latest build to our test plan so that the right testing automation DLLs are pushed to the testing environment. And for this, I'm gonna use this utility, assign build to test.exe. Final step here is that testing part, and for my testing I need to only run the build verification tests. And here's my automated test settings. I'm gonna click finish, close and save. Now let's check in our code into source control. So this chicken will trigger the parent build, which will in turn trigger the child build, which will build and deploy and trust the app. Then it will return control again to the parent build. The parent build will then assign the latest build to the current test plan, then push the latest automation DLLs to our virtual testing environment. Then it will execute the build verification tests and return the results to you. Let's go to builds, and here's our build. Let's go to Microsoft Test Manager, the Lab Center, and I can connect to my machine from here. Connect. This opens Microsoft Environment Viewer. Log in from here. And when you create an environment, Microsoft Test Manager will take care of preparing this environment for testing. So as you can see here, it's deploying the build. Here's the test agent. It's deploying the build here. Let's go again to Visual Studio. Now it's assigning the latest build definition or the latest build to our current test plan. See, build currently in use is the latest one. Now it should execute the test cases. So I'll go back. So see, it's saying here that it's running tests, and it's actually running the test cases automatically. It's adding the values from the test case. Here's the first iteration. And here's the second iteration. I'm not clicking anything, everything is automated. And let's go to Visual Studio. It's reporting that it's still executing the tests. And this is because it's now collecting and uploading the diagnostic data to TFS. This is like video recording, system information, event logs, and so on. Let's view the build has successfully completed. And here are the test results. I can view the test result from here. We had only one test. Here's the test case. We have some attachments here, like the system information, the event log. Here's the system information. The computer name, the OS information, the processor information, memory information, IE information, screen information, and so on. We'll go back to Microsoft Test Manager. Go to the test. Open the test. And let's open the video. And here's the video that has been recorded during the test execution. And if the test case fails, TFS will automatically create a bug and includes the video along with the diagnostic information with the bug. This will make the process of reproducing and debugging issue much easier. Thank you.